All right. Hi. All right, let's finally do it, shall we? Um just everything be damned about this character. The fact that I've been waiting so long for Wotv calc to update and it's just not updating is really frustrating because it just makes it way better to give the numbers and let people know and all of that stuff. So yeah, starting this review, I'm just gonna say I don't know what's happening. I've been a little too busy, obviously. I just have this paint nagging thing going on with my mouth. So all of that means that it's more than a little difficult to deliver great content, but we'll do our best. So let's talk about everything that's going on right now to do with this character. And as of right now, it's weird because ever since the 3.5 anniversary happened and all that extended maintenance happened too, it's kind of disrupted things. And there seems to be many different minds about new Jayden. Ultima thinks he's a 9.8 out of 10, which is very high in double S in all content. Game 8 thinks that he's an S in PvP and an A in like just doing content, and a 9.6 as an overall, but he's listed on their website as in double S quality character. It feels really bad so far this 3.5 anniversary for everything to just be so messy. And unfortunately, probably Tears of the Kingdom being out right now and everybody playing that probably is distracting away. But here I am. Let's talk about it. And I did watch Peachin's latest video and some other Japanese players' videos on this guy, and I feel like I can say with a certainty that I do think he is a really good quality character. And let's also start by saying that I think that mono element is his strong suit for now. From the games I've seen where he's been in different elemental parties and more focused around like just some other weird things like magic only, it feels like he falls flat. And that's not just because of him, that's also because of some other units. And I think the combo that seems to be working the best with him looks to be like some combination of Velis, Howlet, Ice Howlet, and last but not least, Reagan. Through the combination of all of these characters, especially Velis, seems to do wonders for this ice party. And that is where it is being really successful. So while we normally do our tests and everything, and we'll be getting into that relatively shortly, I want to say my overall thoughts because I've had a while to just think about him without the numbers. And it's very clear that Jayden, like Halloween Lucia, is incredibly strong against physical units and decently still strong against magical teams too. But for all intents and purposes, when you look at this kind of stuff, I think you get the idea very quickly that he's an anti-wind unit, he's an anti-tank unit, and those things, while they sound really cool, have various levels of success. Specifically, for me, one of the things I've noted about him is that as a more magical-based character, he doesn't get a high AP start, which is a little concerning. His AI does focus his AP generation ability, which is good, but it's interesting that it prioritizes that over the barrier, and that also can be generally a thing that can be a little bit of an issue. But the other thing that I've really noticed is that new Jayden is particularly one of the later characters to actually get moving across the map and attacking other units. And you may say, why is that such a big deal, Umber? Why is that going to be a major consideration? I think it's a huge consideration just because of the fact that you want this character always going first. You want him out there to meet the tank head on, to degenerate hate. You can focus on other units. And hate dispel is a really interesting concept because this character resets hate to 0, regardless of whether it's been generated or it's a passive or anything. Hate is just set to 0. So that's really interesting. But I mean, this character, he doesn't have re-raise, he doesn't have guts or immortal spirit, whatever. All he effectively has is his barrier to keep him alive, and it's generally pretty good. And you can see his stats are generally pretty good. I don't have any specific complaints about him. I think that he is overall a very strong unit and a great addition to Ice. It gives Ice something very unique in terms of the hate mechanic. And also, I think that Jayden will be particularly interesting going forward to see maybe with the vision card that's coming next week, how that strengthens him, how it strengthens water, and what combinations of characters we will see also with spears, because spears feel like it's been a long time since we've had a really good unit. To be fair, one of the last spear units to come to the game was one of the best characters for the longest time, and we'll wait and see what her 140 looks like. But my overall thoughts about this character is just, since we don't have numbers and anything to deal with this time around, is that he is a very strong character. I think that he needs support from Jayden, or from Velas, from Reagan, from other great ice elemental characters to truly shine. And he is not what I would consider to be the most plug and play character, because as of a lot of matches that I watched with Peach and set up through multiple different teams, it is very clear that he is one of the last characters out, which is one of the biggest problems, because you really do need him on the front line. You want him up first to soak up some damage, to be able to reset hate, and also, I mean, he's just a damage dealer. So you've looked at his stats long enough. We'll just show we're running Zoma. This is Zoma's stats. I guess we'll also show some Zoma resistance here. And there's still a lot of discussion about how our new character here will be really, really generally good or really generally kind of mediocre going forward, where his successes will lie. And there's still more pieces of the puzzle. I mean, want to see what Bridal Elia looks like, want to see what the Vision card, the Esper looks like. But I think Jayden is strong enough that he will make an impact. It's just that, again, in terms of optimizing him and optimizing the team that he's on, I still feel like there's more work to be done, but probably high-level guilds will be quite interested to see on that. So let's just also take a look at this. And we're running a light-based party today because we've done a lot of the dark side, it feels like. So let's try something a little bit different today. All right, so that should be it. The only other thing I'm going to talk about really quickly is Jayden's support skills. This one increases hit rate, range of shield breaker, and magic spear rain, which is interesting. This also has critical on it and agility and magic. Quite a good series of supports. I think I clicked on the wrong one there. There's that one. And yeah, this is the other one that improves that spear base. So two really good ones. There also is some other good stuff to do with mental penetration and defense up. And as for his counter, kind of interesting, just chance to recover HP after receiving damage. Would be a little bit nicer if he did have like re-raise on him, or not re-raise, but Immortal Spirit, just to get a potential HP regeneration. but it is generally pretty strong for an HP regeneration. So yeah, we've talked enough kind of here. There are good VCs, the FF15 Ice Spear VC, more Dark Golem is kind of interesting. And I do believe that Jayden is a permanent unit in the game. So that's good news for people who are looking for that. Now let's just start running some abilities. Not the greatest map, I just chose one at random. Let's take a look at some of his abilities. So first off, this one is his AP generation. This is one that his AI seems to favor. It also greatly raises debuff resistance and magic powers, so it is pretty darn good if we take a look at his magic stat before. And now we run the ability. And his TMR also increases magic power greatly, not only of him, but other allies, which generally, yeah, really strong, really good, and we're going to want that. Let's go over here. We're going to use Varus here, as he normally would be, and we'll also get Zoma in here, just for comparison. We got all these different characters, and we can test and see what works and what doesn't. We got, I think, basically like a million billion barriers here. Just off of initial, you can see particularly our Velis here is doing a particularly high amount of damage. And this is one of the great things that you can actually do with Jayden, is you can run him in a team with Velis and really let Velis finally have, normally Velis is like support because he's a really good support unit, but his AI is actually really decent still at dealing damage, unlike characters like Lena. And I know Lena has healer AI, but still, you throw like Ice Howlet in combination with Jayden in combination with Velis, and it works really well because you can just focus all of your effort towards increasing magical attack power and really start putting out some pretty good damage. So you're just taking a look here, you can see what kind of things we are doing for damage just off of Velis, and it's pretty nice. You can also see a particular weakness for Jayden here. Let's take a look at the next ability which we're going to run, which is not this one we want. This is the TMR ability. As you can see, we get the big magic power increase, which is, you know, a nice TMR. I think anybody who specializes in mages will probably want to get that one at some point. Now, this is the other ability. Raises single target attack resistance. Slashing attack resistance for allies within range for 3 turns, creates a barrier that prevents up to 10,000 damage. Now, we're going to be running that in a second, but I do want to show off, now his magic has been boosted to 1747, and just if we were to run his limit burst, which does have this shotgun style of approach, you can see the type of damage we're doing. Again, we're not super geared against, like these units are not overly massively geared against magic damage, but you can see that Jayden is putting out pretty high damage overall. And just to check one other thing that I want to show off, his limit burst does have 58 AP, and since his generation for AP is very low at the start of battle, if you rewind, you can check out the numbers before I activated his ability. But yeah, him activating his limit burst is both kind of good that it does have a high AP requirement, because you kind of want him to be using other abilities, but you can see the type of damage that we're getting off it, pretty high, killing Bartz here, who is not a 140 for reference sake, but also dealing a fairly high amount of damage against other characters too. So this is his special ability. This is the Hate Down ability, and running the support skill gives us a higher amount of range. As you can see, if we are activating it, we can throw it against Engelbert here, who is still resisting a good amount of damage. And not too terribly much, but still pretty good. And that's going to reset hate and change the way that the battle goes. We check here, we can check out some of his AoE capabilities. And you can see the type of damage that he is capable of doing. I think that Dark Shiva, I know I've said this, but I think Dark Shiva will also be very important to see how his potential future will be, as it may be a more fine-tuned Esper, and particularly one that is fairly damage capable, meaning that could be a very strong time for ice magic. But anyway, let's go back here. We're going to use this ability. We're going to give that resistance up and that physical barrier. And now we're going to run Bart's special ability. I believe it's this one. If I got it wrong, sorry, we'll just do it again. But now let's try attacking Jayden and see what we can do. And you can see that anti-physical barrier does do a lot of work to save, which is basically what you'd expect. But just like Halloween Lucia, one of the places where I think this character is going to be just so good into the future is against purely physical teams. Physical teams do have to get through his barrier first, which does give him a fair amount of time to, start dealing damage against the opponent as well. Let's do it. Just we get that cool. Also, yeah, interesting. Just didn't. We got the follow-up attack here, but we didn't get the follow-up attack here, which I assume means it's absorbed. But yeah, we'll just leave that as it is for now. And to show off the comparison, Zoma, who I think is generally a pretty good damage dealer, you can see what Zoma's Limit Burst is doing by comparison against the opposing team. So yeah, I don't know. There's really, I think I've covered mostly everything that I want to. The one thing that we could try and get here, if we even can with this unit. I couldn't beat him. He was slightly up. See, the higher ground is not always important, but let's get one of the abilities specifically. We'll use his cool one here. And even got a secondary hit off of Bart's. Neat. And just throw another attack at him. This time maybe a little more single target, so we're not just hurting Velas too much. I mean, I do have to work with the guy, so probably a good idea to not absolutely kill him. Let's go with... So you can see it does take some time to chew the barrier. And hey, look, Bart's ability even hits himself. Go there, and look, we are finally through that barrier. Even with all of that damage power thrown against him from physical, he is quite resilient to it. And so, yeah, I think I've kind of just said everything that I want to about him. His abilities are pretty good for getting rid of re-raise. He can deal a good amount of magical damage while also dealing piercing damage, while also regenerating part of his HP. I believe that's his job level 25 ability for getting him 140. I mean, it is a character that you're going to need to get into EX and especially to 140. But I do think he's really good. My one major issue, because his AI seems pretty smart and capable to do what it needs to do. He seems to have like powerful synergies in ice with just pure ice magic in combination with great units like Velas and Reagan, and again, Ice Howlet. All of those are good. The resetting of hate is such a unique ability that it just kind of deserves attention. We can get resistance off of him, and he is just an incredibly anti-physical unit. Basically, think Halloween Lucia, but better for dealing with physical units. Because just a higher barrier, and he has 100 cost stats. So ice people, I mean, I hate to say this, but somebody asked me, hey, what is, like, can I skip Reagan? Can I skip Ice Howlet? And the honest thing is, I mean, Velis, I think, is the most, at least initially from all the footage I've seen, Velis seems to be one of the more key components, and it seems to make sense because Velis is just such an insane unit anyway. As always, if Velis is the last unit standing, chances of winning go down, a fair bit, but not necessarily completely. And as for, I mean, I've seen this team winning, this Ice team win against Dark. If you're wanting to go with Ice Howlet or Reagan, I think you can choose either of those, but you probably can't both. Ice has some really great choice units right now. Snow, I mean, if you look at how defensive it can be, if you're choosing against physical teams, I think you have a much higher chance of winning. But anyway, it gives Ice something new, something creative, and Jayden, to see how far he will truly fly, we're just going to have to wait and see what the details on the vision card and Esper are the following week, and maybe, who knows, Alaya, Bridal Alaya, maybe she's even Ice still. Could happen. Weirder things have happened. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and see you next time.